Politicians aren't really known for telling us the exact truth, and on average, the people in Congress, their salary is capped really below $300,000. But lately, members of Congress have been making 10, 50, 100 times their yearly salary by doing one thing. Being in Congress isn't supposed to be lucrative, and this is what they don't want you to know about how they actually get rich. So let's imagine you're a member in Congress and you're sitting in a closed room discussing upcoming legislation. Let's say that you're talking about a new bill that's going to benefit tech companies. Then what if, before the public even has a clue what's going on, you pull out your phone, call your broker, and tell them to place some money on a stock that could directly benefit from this new tech bill? Oh, and you don't even have to go that far. Just imagine sitting at the dinner table. Let's say you're talking to your wife and you're just saying about the stuff that you were talking about in this meeting. And subconsciously or consciously, she thinks to herself, wow, tech is really going to jump within the next year. And then she makes the buying decision right there. You didn't tell her to buy the stock, but because of the discussion you were having at the dinner table, I mean, all of us talk about our jobs at home, right? Like, we talk about what we did that day at work. When you talk to your spouse, it's very easy, even if it's not intentional, it's very easy to be influenced by the information that these Congress people get. And it's very beneficial because your spouse isn't put under the same microscope as you are as a public figure, so they can fly right under the radar. After all, it's not you making the move, right? It's the perfect loophole, blending personal relationships with the power that you get from private information that hasn't been released yet. And it's almost impossible to police. Now let me show you a scenario where people believe that exact scenario that I mapped out for you happened. There was a woman in Congress named Nancy Pelosi. She was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. People have been paying more attention to her because of one thing: her stock trading.
I supported Nancy Pelosi in the House, okay?
I support her stock trades.
Yeah, I didn't know about any of those.
Did you go to Pelosi Stock Tracker?
No.
You ever seen it? Oh, it's
No.
so good.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
No kidding.
I'm not really a stock market person. I don't pay attention. But I do know people that are very invested in the stock market. And Pelosi Stock Tracker is legit. Like, you could find out what she's buying, and you should buy it.
That is really, really interesting.
Okay, now back in July 2022, her husband, Paul Pelosi, made headlines because he bought millions of dollars worth of Nvidia stock. And what made everybody question why did he do this is not when he did it, but what happened shortly after. For you to understand, let me give you a little backstory. Congress was debating on a new bill that was going to be launched. This bill was going to provide billions of dollars in funding to semiconductor companies in order to encourage these companies to manufacture in the United States. And one of those stocks were Nvidia. Just weeks later after his purchase, the CHIPS and Science Act was released, which funneled a significant amount of funding into those semiconductor companies. Nvidia stock surged. And from the time that he bought the shares to when this bill was passed was weeks apart. But here's the kicker: Nancy Pelosi was directly involved in the votes and discussions for this bill. And when asked about that, she denied having any involvement in her husband's trades. But let's be honest, the optics of it looked too good to be true.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information you've received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The timing was too perfect, and it led people to question, is she taking advantage of the knowledge that she has? But even if she's telling the truth, the loopholes in the system make it nearly impossible for anybody to prove that she's actually insider trading. There is a policy put in place called the Stock Act, which is meant to make Congress people disclose to the public what they're investing in the market. An article from 2023 Business Insider said that 78 members of Congress were actually caught violating the law to prevent insider trading and stop the conflicts of interest that they might have. 78 people were caught last year. I mean, it's gotten so bad that there's an app that tracks what these Congress people are investing in so that you and me can take advantage of the same trades. But I'll talk more about that later. The only problem is that there's no law that prevents the families from making trades based on what they overhear from the lawmaker. And these insider trading laws require evidence, and that evidence is very hard to get, especially if you're just having a conversation between husband and wife. Which proves that you can have a casual dinner conversation where I tell you what I did at work, which could lead to a highly profitable trade, but not count as insider trading. That's the reality that we're talking about. This chart represents the Congress versus the S&P 500, some of the top 500 stocks compiled all together that grant you a certain result. And these are results taken in 2023. The blue lines are the Democrats and the red lines are the Republicans. As you can see, the top Democrat made over 238% on that year. And then what you see is all the way at the bottom is the S&P 500. Meaning that over a dozen people in Congress beat the S&P 500's returns in the year 2023. If you don't know how hard that is to do, hedge funds struggled to do that year over year. Their team compiled of some of the best analysts and using the best data that there is available. And it makes you wonder, are all these Congress people just amazing stock market geniuses that are beating out hedge funds in their percentage gains? Or are they using the information that they get from their lawmaking positions in order to make predictions on the market? But here's the kicker about the Stock Act, one of the only laws that tries to prevent Congress people from insider trading. If you get caught, you get like a slap on the wrist. The Stock Act notably requires members of Congress to report trades they make, or made by their spouses or dependent children, within 45 days or risk of a financial slap on the wrist. The standard penalty for such a violation is $200. So the Stock Act sounds great on paper, but even if you violate it, you're only paying $200, which is chunk change when you're talking about millions of dollars in profit. So the pattern is clear. When these people are caught, it doesn't act as a deterrent. They pay the fine and then keep going, hope they don't get caught again. When the reward is millions of dollars in profit and the only risk is maybe a $200 fine and a PR hit, the math is obvious. Now listen, I'm not accusing anybody of insider trading. All I'm doing is bringing your attention to it and showing you how easy it would be to exploit this power that you have. So I want you to come up with your own opinion. I mean, truly, what are the odds that this one profession full of people with law degrees and public service experience just happens to generate some of the best traders in the world? Traders that beat hedge fund expectations, traders that make millions of dollars a year, all in one profession? Seems too good to be true. Remember, this system that was built isn't broken. It was designed exactly for this, just not for us. And the rules are written in a way where they can keep on playing the game with little to no consequence. If that's enough to make you raise an eyebrow, you're not alone. Because remember what I said earlier, now there's an app that tracks what these Congress people invest in. Think of the strategy as, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. The app is called Autopilot, and while this video isn't sponsored, it's a cool app that follows what members of Congress are buying and selling, and these trades again have outperformed hedge funds. So think about that, hedge funds run by the smartest financial minds with access to unlimited data. These guys are beating them. If you like this video, then you'll definitely like this video where a guy turned $1,000 into $1 million in 2 weeks.